Hey everyone, welcome back to the Maker's Gonna Learn YouTube channel. In today's tutorial, you all are not gonna believe what we're gonna be creating. We're actually gonna be taking a Dollar Tree cutting board and sublimating on it to make an amazing stained glass, either wall decor or an actual cutting board. Now, there are so many different techniques that you can use when it comes to sublimating on glass, but I'm going to be teaching you my absolute favorite way to do that, and that is using thermal laminating pouches. Y'all, it's so impressive what these thermal laminating pouches can do when it comes to sublimation. It is hands down my favorite way to sublimate on items that you never thought you'd be able to sublimate on. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump overhead and talk about all the supplies that you're going to need. Now that we're here, obviously the base of today's project is going to be a Dollar Tree cutting board. Now you do not have to use the round. They do have square cutting boards available, but it's going to be the same technique whether you use round or a square. So this is going to be the main base of our project. If you can't find them at Dollar Tree, really any glass cutting board is going to work, because we're going to be adding these thermal laminating pouches, and that's what's going to give us the power to sublimate onto this glass. So you need your cutting board, and then the next most important thing that you need are the thermal laminating pouches. Now, I've used multiple different brands of thermal laminating pouches, and I've had really great results with all of the brands. This Everest brand came from Amazon. You can get a huge pack of these and they will last you forever, because you're only going to use one side of the pouch or one side of the laminating sheet, and I'll show you exactly how to do that here in a minute. So you can do multiple items with one laminating pouch. So because we are going to be sublimating today, you do need your sublimation printer, whether that is your converted Epson EcoTank, your Sawgrass printer. There are so many different great sublimation printers, so whichever one you have is the one you're going to need. Today we are going to be using our Epson SureColor F170 series. This is Epson's Sublimation. This is one of Epson's sublimation printers. This is more of like the at-home sublimation printer. This is also linked down below if you are looking for a really great sublimation printer. We love our Epson SureColor F170. Now you're also going to need some type of heat source. Today we're going to be using the StarCraft clamshell heat press. You can use a Cricut Easy Press. Just make sure that your cutting board is going to be smaller than your heat plate. We really love our StarCraft heat press. Now, this is one that is going to be a little bit more on the pricey side, but really all you need is some type of heat source. Now, before we get into all the extra stuff, the other things that you definitely need for the sublimation process is going to be your butcher's paper. You're definitely going to need some heat gloves for this, because that glass is going to get very hot, and some type of heat tape or sublimation adhesive spray to keep your sublimation print down onto your blank. Now, all of the other things that you see here are going to be extra if you want it to hang, if you want it to add this little piece here. Now, how we have done that is these are like necklace charms. They're going to be linked down below for you, but I'll pull one out so that you can see exactly what they look like. These work really great because they do have the flat piece there, and what we do is we're going to take some DAP glue and we're going to put it here and adhere it to the back. So you're going to have two of those on either side, and then to attach a little chain, we just have two little jump rings, and then this is just, you can get necklace chain or any type of chain that you want to hang it on. And then of course, to work with all of this, we just have our needle nose pliers, and this just makes it a lot easier to work with this chain and these jump rings to get that adhered to this. Now, like I said, all of this stuff is not necessary to complete this project. If you just want the glass cutting board and nothing else, I'm going to show you how we remove these rubber feet on the back, and then what I would do is keep those, and then you can just re-adhere them on after you have finished sublimating. Another thing that I'm going to be using today is the Cricut Mini Easy Press, and I will show you exactly how I'm going to use this to adhere the thermal laminating pouches down when we get to that point. Now, this is not necessary if you don't have one. You can still adhere those pouches down using your heat press, but if you do have a Mini Easy Press, I'm going to show you my favorite way of adhering the pouches down, because it really helps me work with that and get those air bubbles out as I adhere it down to the glass. So I will show you exactly how we're going to use this when we get to that point. Now, today we're actually going to be using Cricut Design Space and Canva. It is not necessary that you have to use both of these design softwares if you want to create this. It's just the fact that I'm going to be taking a square file and turning it into a circle for this cutting board. If you don't want to do that, we do have some files that are already pre-made as a circle, or you can just use a square cutting board and you do not have to do this next step. You would just simply download your file into Canva, resize it, and print it. But I'm going to show you exactly how to do that from start to finish if you do want to take a square stained glass file and turn it into a circle. So we're going to go ahead and hop on over to the Makers Gonna Learn website. I'm going to show you all of the stained glass files that we have available for you all to use, and then we're going to start the process of manipulating that file to make it work with the circular glass cutting board that we're going to be using today. Now that we're here, you can see that we do have some really cute circular files already, but I really like the poinsettia. Now, I did the bright poinsettia for the first one, but I think I want to try this darker one for the next one so that we can really see the difference. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this cut file by clicking this arrow that's pointed down. I'm going to come over here, double click it, make sure the file unzips. I'm then going to go back to Cricut Design Space, click Upload, Upload Image, bring my Finder back into view, grab my file, and drag and drop it into Design Space. Now from here, I'm going to click Complex. We're going to click Continue, Apply and Continue. And then we want the print and cut image, and we're going to upload it onto our canvas. Now that we're here, I'm going to enlarge this so I can really see the circular area of this file. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a shape. I'm going to grab the circle, and I am going to enlarge it. And then make sure that it covers the full circular area that I want to slice out. Now, you can see it might be a little oblong. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to unlock this circle for just a second and then come over here and just kind of manipulate it a little bit more and make sure it covers the full area, and it does. Now from there, I'm going to select both and slice that out. So now I have this outer edge here that I want to get rid of. And here I have my circular poinsettia, and then I'm just going to delete out that circle. Now, the next step you're going to do, this is my personal favorite way of taking something from Design Space and placing it in another design software. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take a screenshot or a screen grab of this. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command-Shift-4, and then here you can see that I now have this tool that I can take a screenshot of this area, and then so I click, drag, and release, and you can see down here that it has taken a screen grab of that. If you are on a Windows, it's called the snippet tool. So what you're going to want to do is go down to the bottom to your start menu, just type in snip tool or snippet tool, and you can do the exact same thing. So once you have taken your screenshot or screen grab of that, we're then going to head back over to Canva. So here we're in Canva. What I then am going to do is I'm going to create a design. I want to have a custom size design, and I'm going to make sure that this is changed to inches because I am going to be printing this on 8.5 by 11. I just want my width to be 8.5 and my height to be 11, and then we're going to click Create New Design. Once we have created our new design, I'm then going to go to Uploads. I want to upload a file. I'm going to go to Recents, and you can see that here I have my screenshot. So I'm just going to make sure that is selected and open that. It will then download. I'm then going to make sure it downloads, and then I'm just going to zoom in and crop this down to where it is just barely touching the circle on all sides. Now, this seems like it might be silly, but trust me, it's not, because by cropping your image down to where it touches the sides of the circle, it's going to give you the width across so you know how large this circle is. So if it's touching this corner to this corner, you can see here, once we do this, it is 4.1 inches width and height. So that means our circle is 4.1 inches across. So let's go overhead, and you can see when I go to measure this, this circle is a little under 8 inches. So what we then want to do is go back to Canva. We're going to pull this over to the side, and we're just going to, I'll zoom back out so you all can see better. We're just going to enlarge this. And we said it was a little under 8 inches, so we are going to 8.4. We'll just go ahead and do 8 inches altogether so that we might have a little bit of overhang. And now you know that your circle is going to be pretty close to 8 inches all the way around, which will fit on our glass cutting board. Once you have completed that, we're then going to go to share. I'm going to download this. We want to make sure that we download it as a PNG, and then we're going to click download. Once it downloads, we're then going to open it up. Beautiful. And then we are going to print. We're going to make sure that it's on our correct printer. Now, if you have the option, you always want to print best quality. For this one, I'm going to go to color matching, because if you have used an Epson SureColor before, and you've heard us talk about it on our channel, I really like using the color sync. The Epson color controls will sometimes come in handy, but for this specific project, I'm just going to use the color sync on the general purpose rigid, and then from there, I'm going to select print. Now, while that is printing, we want to prepare our glass cutting board. So first thing you're going to want to do is grab some type of spatula, and we are just going to gently remove these rubber feet off the bottom of our cutting board. Now, if you still want to use this as a cutting board, I would save these rubber feet, set them to the side, and then save them to apply. Now, one thing that it is going to do is it is going to leave a little bit of residue from the glue. My best suggestion is getting some type of essential oil, any type of citrus essential oil. Lemon works great. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this essential oil there. And I swear it is the best thing to take off adhesives if there is any residue left from adhesives. So I'm just going to take this, rub this off, and it just wipes right off. Once you have done that, you're still going to want to clean it with alcohol because it's going to be pretty dirty. So we're just going to wipe it down with some alcohol, and then I'm going to take a lint-free cloth and make sure I wipe down all of the fingerprints and stuff off of the glass cutting board. Once you have your cutting board nice and clean, I'm just going to place it down on a piece of butcher's paper. Now, this is just an old piece of butcher's paper, which is fine because I just want there to be a barrier between my work surface and the glass cutting board, because the next step is I'm going to add the thermal laminating pouches. Now, there are a lot of ways that you can do this. You can do this with your heat press. You can do this with your mini easy press. You can take your thermal laminating pouches, cut it out, and then add it. However, my favorite way to do this is to take your thermal laminating pouch, separate the front from the back, and you can do this by just kind of tearing that, just like that, setting one side of it to the side, and then I like to just add the whole thing over top. Now, the reason that I prefer this rather than tracing it and cutting it out is because I can adhere this down and then come through with a true control knife or an X-Acto knife and trim those edges perfectly around that. And the reason that I like using a Cricut Mini Easy Press is because I can take this once I have adhered the main part down and kind of adhere it to the sides so you don't have pieces that can get snug or snagged on the side of your cutting board. So what I am going to do, I'm going to go ahead and put on my heat resistant glove because this next part is also going to be very important, and I'm going to be using this at a heat setting of 2. Now remember, thermal laminating pouches do not have to have such a high temperature to adhere to surfaces, so that's why I'm using it on a heat setting of 2. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start on one side and I'm going to adhere this side, and then I'm going to push the bubbles out and then keep working my way forward, which is why I have my heat glove on so that I can touch this while it's hot. It's not going to be so hot that you can't touch it, but we're going to start pushing these bubbles out, okay? So we're going to do this one side, hold it down, push the bubbles out, and then just keep working our way around. Now that I have done that, what I can do is while holding this, I can come through here and just kind of curve the edge of this down with my Mini Easy Press all the way around your glass cutting board. Once you have done that, you're going to want to let this completely cool to the touch. That way you can come in with your true control knife and trim the edges. Once you have allowed it to cool and it is cool to the touch, my favorite thing is to come in with a true control knife and just run it along the edge of your cutting board. That way you have a perfectly symmetrical cut and there is no guesswork on how large you should cut your laminating sheet. Now, if for some reason you do have places that you feel like can snag, what you can do, grab your Mini Easy Press again and just make sure that those get adhered down to the edges of your glass. Once you have your laminating pouch secure, what we are going to do now is we're going to bring in our sublimation print. This top piece is the side that has the laminating pouch. What you're going to want to do is flip it over and place it on top of your design. Line it up and then grab your heat tape, and we're just going to tape this down to our design. Once we have secured our design down, we're going to come over to our heat press and we're going to be pressing this glass at 400 degrees for 60 seconds. So you're going to want to take your glass cutting board, we're going to place it design facing up next to the heat plate. You do want to make sure you have your butcher's paper at the bottom. You're going to make your butcher's paper sandwich, as I like to call it. So butcher paper at the bottom, your blank, your sublimation design, and then we're going to grab our another piece of butcher's paper and place it on top. Now, we are going to be pressing this medium to heavy pressure, so you might want to check your heat press and make sure, because the glass cutting board is going to be a little thicker than your normal sublimation designs. So you're going to maybe want to make sure you have that. That's a pretty good pressure there. And then we're going to press this for 60 seconds. Now, this is fixing to be done. You are going to want to make sure you have your heat gloves on, because this glass is going to be super hot and we're going to have to transport it from the heat press to our craft table. So make sure that you do wear your heat gloves. Once the 60 seconds is over, we are going to take the top piece of butcher's paper off, So now I'm just going to grab this, bring this over to the table. Now if you want to check to see if it has sublimated all the way through, what you can do is take your design and flip it over. I suggest kind of taking a corner of it off to check it. This one looks like it has done really well, so we're just going to completely take this off. And y'all, look how beautiful. So we're just going to remove all of our heat tape. And before you start working with anything else, you're definitely going to want to make sure that this cools completely. It's going to be very hot, so it will stay warm for a while. So we're just going to let this sit there and let this cool down all the way. Now that our cutting board has completely cooled down, you only have one last step, depending on what you want to do with your cutting board, to be completely finished. Now, if you want something like this that you can hang in a window that looks like stained glass, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab these necklace pieces, and we're going to kind of place them where we think we would want them to go, like this. And then you're going to want to measure out your chain to see how long you want your chain to be, so we can then kind of like get an idea here. And I think that's good. Now, the one thing that I did find that was so much easier to do is to go ahead and attach this chain to these necklace pieces with jump rings before you glue them on. So how you're going to do that is you're going to grab 2 sets of needle nose pliers. You're just going to take each jump ring and separate them. That way you have enough room for the chain. We're then going to add the chain and then add the necklace piece on there, and then you are going to close that together. Now, once you have done that with both sides, which I'm only going to do it with one side today, you're then just going to add a little bit of DAP glue and then place it on the back side that has the laminating sheet, and you would do that to both sides. Now, that is one way you can do that, and this is what it's going to look like if you do it that way. So I love the hanging option. I think it is a beautiful way to display the stained glass cutting boards. However, if you still want to use the cutting board in your kitchen, what you can do, remember I told you to keep the feet. Now, this side of the cutting board is still just glass. There's nothing on it. It still can be useful as like a hot plate. So what you're going to do is you're just going to take your feet. There is still sticky on the bottom of them, and we can just stick those right back down. And if you want them to be more permanent, you can add some DAP glue to those as well, but you do not have to. They still stick pretty well. So we're just going to stick those back down, and then you can see we have a really beautiful cutting board that you can use as a hot plate or whatever you want in your kitchen. And that's it. It really is that simple to get some amazing looking cutting boards using laminate sheets and sublimation. Now, like I said, I know there are lots of different ways that you can sublimate on glass. If you don't want the clear look, you can use white adhesive vinyl. That is a great way to do this. But like I said, this is our favorite way to do it, is using the laminating sheets, because it really gives you a true stained glass look. If you want to recreate this exact project using the files that we use today, make sure to check out our website, makersgonnalearn.com. We are a crafting community where we bring you inspiration, education, and motivation to start crafting. Now, today we've done sublimation. We do a lot of Cricut crafts, but a lot of the files that we have can be used for sublimation as well. Or if you don't know where to get started with sublimation, we also have a program called Maker's Gonna Sublimate, where we walk you through start to finish, how to set up your printer, what printer you may need, all the way through becoming a sublimation pro. That link is also down below this video. If you want to get started with Maker's Gonna Sublimate today, click that link and join us, where you will get access to hundreds of sublimation ready files exclusive to our Maker's Gonna Sublimate members. It is a one-time only fee. Once you purchase this class, you have it for a lifetime. No matter how many updates we do, you always get lifetime access to all of the updates. If you have enjoyed this video and really like this craft, Make sure to like this video, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can get notified every time we get crafty. I have really enjoyed today's video. I love this project, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one. If you've ever asked the question, can I sublimate Dollar Tree items? Then you are in the right place. In today's video, we're going to go over some things that we have found at the Dollar Tree that we think we can sublimate on, and some things that we really want to try and see if we can do so. So I hope you stick around to the end to see what these results are. If you are new here, my name is Lauren, and I'm a craft producer here at Makers Gonna Learn, where we bring you inspiration, education, and motivation to get crafty, whether that be with your die cutting machine or with sublimation. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit that bell notification so that you can be notified every time we get crafty. So, I know you're here to get the question answered, can you sublimate on Dollar Tree items? So let's go ahead and get started and see what we can and what we can't sublimate. So, before we get our designs out and actually start pressing some of this stuff, I want to address the fact that, in short, yes, you can absolutely sublimate Dollar Tree items. The only thing that you need to be aware of is the polyester count in specific items. So if you were to go pick up a t-shirt from the Dollar Tree, you need to make sure you are checking out the tag to see if it has a high poly count. Because for those that are new to sublimation, what it is it is an ink that once heat is applied to that ink, turns into a gas. The gas then adheres to the synthetic fibers of the polyester or polymer fibers, and then it stays locked in. So because of this, you can transfer the ink onto cotton items. However, they are not near as vibrant and will eventually fade and wash out. But with all of that being said, just because there is an item that you know doesn't have some type of synthetic fibers or polyester fibers in it, doesn't mean you can't sublimate on it. One example are these amazing Crafter Square brand canvas panels or board canvases. These are really one of my all-time favorite things to sublimate on by adding one extra step so that you can get to this result. Now, stick around because I'm going to show you how to do that later on in the video with different items. So, now that we have, in short, answered our question that yes, we can, let's test out some of these products we have on the table. First thing that I want to test out is this glitter cardstock. Now, sublimating on glitter cardstock has been one of the big things here recently, so I found some glitter cardstock from Dollar Tree, and I want to test out if I can sublimate on it. So, one other thing that I do also want to address is when we are sublimating here on the Makers Gonna Learn channel, you normally see our clamshell heat press sitting here behind us, and that's what we will sublimate with. However, today I am going to be using the Cricut Easy Press. We always have people ask if they can sublimate with the Cricut Easy Press, and yes, absolutely you can. You just have to hold the pressure on yourself, and it can be hard for some people, but because we are working with some smaller items today, and some items that I know would not work in the clamshell heat press, I am going to be working with the Cricut Easy Press at a 385-degree heat setting. So let's go ahead and jump overhead, and we're going to test if we can sublimate on this Dollar Tree glitter cardstock. For the cardstock, I'm going to test this little Beach Babe design up here in the top corner. Now, cardstock is one that if you apply too much heat for too long of a time, it could curl. So I'm actually going to press this. I have it set for 60 seconds, but I think I'm going to try 30 first and see how it works. Okay, so as you can see, this has completely melted that glitter cardstock. So that's gonna be a no. Well, that did not work. And I know what you're gonna say, Lauren, you forgot your butcher paper. Yes, I absolutely did. And I have checked other people's, and they have been sublimating glitter cardstock 400 degrees, which is 15 degrees more than what I did, for 20 seconds. So I'm gonna try it one more time. I'm gonna add a layer of butcher paper, and we're gonna try it the same degrees, 385, because I don't think I need to go any hotter. And we're gonna try it for 20 seconds. And if it still doesn't work, then we're tossing this one out the door. So now I'm gonna take my little moth design, and you're gonna see this design a lot in today's video. It's one of our new designs that I really, really love. So we're gonna take our moth design, we're gonna cover this in butcher paper, and we're gonna press this for 20 seconds at 385. That is still gonna be a no. It's like peeling the glitter off. Okay, here you have it. Dollar Tree glitter cardstock. Nope, you can't sublimate on it. The next thing I want to try is this baby bib. Now, when I look at the back, it tells me that this is 100% polyester. So, in theory, you should be able to sublimate on this and have no issues. However, my biggest concern is gonna be the back of this bib. If you can see, it has like a plastic thing. It's like plastic on the back. So my biggest concern is that it's gonna get too hot and melt this plastic. But that's what we're here for. We're gonna try it today. So I'm gonna take this off of the cardboard so that we can lay it flat. And I am just going to apply heat where I need it and not all over the whole bib to try to keep it from ruining this plastic. I don't know, it may hold up to the heat, it may not. Once again, the sweet spot for sublimation is going to be 385. So we're just gonna keep it on 385, and I'm gonna add the name down here in this corner. Once again, we're bringing in our butcher paper to cover that up. And because I am leery about that back, once again, I'm only gonna go for 30 seconds starting out, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay. Truth time. Looks great on the front. Let's check the back. Well, it did so much better than I thought holding up to that heat. It's very hot right now, but it feels the same. Like this has not changed. So we're gonna say the baby bib is a yes. So after further inspection, I'm starting to think that this design on this bib is actually sublimated in and of itself, because look at how the hearts has transferred over to this sheet. So this is probably sublimated in and of itself. So I would be very careful just to keep it at the 30 seconds and literally no more, because if you keep too much heat on this, you could pull more of that ink out of there that you don't want to do that. So I really want to try this bag. It's like a pleather feeling bag. I'm gonna bring out the mini easy press for this because I don't trust having heat like all over this bag. So while my mini easy press heats up to a 3, which by the way guys, we normally do not recommend you sublimating with the mini easy press, but I have a very small design that I'm going to try to put on this, and I don't want to completely ruin the bag if I don't want to. So we're going to see how a heat setting of 3 does on this little, I mean, you can hear, because I'm just afraid that it's going to like shrivel and shrink and completely mess up if I do the larger heat press. So we're going to set this to the side, but I really want to try this one. So we'll try it next once our mini easy press heats up. So let's try out, these are just sitting here. Let's try out these slippers. So looking at the back at the materials, let's see if it has it on the tag. Is there a tag inside? I'm not seeing anything anywhere to tell me if it is polyester or not, but it is a microfiber material. And normally if it's the microfiber material, it is a higher poly count. So let's go ahead and test it out. Now, I'm just going to test this design on one of these and not the other in case for some reason it doesn't work. So we're just going to make sure this lays flat. Take this plastic piece off of here and let's test it out. Once again, I'm sticking with my 30 seconds just because the bottom of this, I don't want to completely ruin it, and I'm afraid 60 seconds may be too much, so we're just gonna stick with 30 seconds. Bring in our butcher's paper. 30 seconds. Okay. And it did. You can see it did sublimate, but you're gonna have to be very, very careful because if you look at the toe, the heat was almost just too much for that. It works. We're gonna call it a 5 out of 10. It works, but once again, that heat was just a lot for the toe of this to withstand that. And I'm really not even a huge fan of, if it's like fluffy poly stuff, it's hard to see your design if you have a very like detailed design. So does it work? Yes. Does it look the best? Not in my opinion, but does it sublimate? Absolutely. Here's a good example of what the heat did to that sandal. There must have been glue between those layers and it just heated that glue up and it seeped out. So I'm gonna let you all use your best judgment on if you would want to sublimate. Like I said, it does, but will the actual blank hold up to the heat that you need for sublimation? Not really well. At this point, I'm trying to decide what is going to be best placement for something on this bag from the Dollar Tree, because at the top it has that button, so I may go down just a little bit. And y'all, I have no eyes to tell. I am pretty scared about putting this heat on this, but we are going to try it. So we're gonna make sure we cover it with our butcher's paper. And once again, we're going in 385. I'm doing it for 30 seconds to begin with. Normally, I like subbing for no less than 60, but when I'm testing out blanks to see how they hold up, I start with 30, then we move up from there, okay? So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that this one works. Okay. Oh no. Oh no, guys. Oh no. It's it's like not even a bag anymore. That's a no. I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we have had quite a few fails so far, and I am absolutely ready for some wins. So what we're going to test out next is this whiteboard. Now, I have seen people sublimate on these whiteboards before, so we're going to, once again, keep our fingers crossed that this works. Now, if for some reason this does not work straight on this whiteboard, there is a workaround that you can do to sublimate on this whiteboard. So we're going to test it without it. And then if it doesn't work, I will show you on this crafting square, this panel, canvas panel, how you can do it on the whiteboard as well as on the canvas. Okay, for this whiteboard, because we are working with a white blank, I'm actually going to be doing one with some color in it. This was printed on our Epson SureColor F170. We love this Epson sublimation printer that's already set up for you to sublimate with. No conversion necessary. So I'm going to place this on our whiteboard, and you can kind of see, I can see where my design is. We're going to grab us some more butcher's paper, cover this design up, and this is one that I feel like is going to withstand the longer temp or the longer time. So I am actually going to leave this one on for 60 seconds. Okay. It is sublimated on there, obviously, but I don't know if I was not holding enough pressure or what the issue was, but obviously those results are not it. So now that this one has not worked for us, let me show you one thing that you can do, that you can add to this. I'm going to add it to the Crafter Square canvas panel, and you can do the same thing for this to make sure that you get an absolutely amazing result. Our secret weapon to sublimating on things that you believe are unsublimatable, especially like wooden blanks, these canvases, that easel that we were just working with, there are things that you can do, and our secret sauce is laminating sheets. We absolutely love adding laminating sheets to these things so that we can sublimate on them. Let me show you exactly how to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to take a thermal laminating pouch and you are going to open it up and separate it. Once you have done that, you are going to grab the blank that you want to work with and make sure that the laminating pouch covers the blank. Now, if you are working on a surface such as this one, you want to make sure that you cover that surface with an older piece of butcher paper or something like that, because this thermal laminating pouch is going to adhere to anything that is under it. Now, you do not have to hold heat onto these laminating pouches for very long. They do adhere to the surface at a lower temperature at a less time. However, I'm still going to keep it at 385, but only put it on there for a couple seconds. This is going to be very important, especially if you decide to add laminating pouches to the front of notebooks, journals, things like that, because it can be done, and I actually show you how to do that within our sublimation course, which you can grab for $70 off right now. Link will be down below. But you want to make sure you don't hold a lot of heat on those things for a long period of time, because they can curl. So when you are adding these laminating pouches, just a few seconds will do. So just to be on the safe side, I'm going to cover the top with some more butcher paper, and I'm just going to place my heat press down, we'll say for just a few seconds, pull that off, and check to see if it has adhered, which it has not down here in the corner. All you have to do, add that back on top, and then make sure you get it adhered all across your blank. Once you have adhered the laminating pouch to the surface, we are just going to cut away the excess. One thing I love to do is I love using my True Control knife to really be able to get close to the edge and cut the edges of this laminating pouch off. Once you have trimmed away the excess, you can then add your blank to the photo or whatever you want to sublimate on. Once you have trimmed the excess, you can then add your blank to the design that you are planning to sublimate onto the blank. Now, this flat canvas is one that we highly suggest you using a press with. You are going to get the best results when you use a press. However, just because we have been working with our Easy Press, we're going to test it out and see the results that we get with our Easy Press. I'll just be honest, we've not done one of these canvases with the Easy Press. I have always done them on our heat press. So we're going to test this out as well today and see how it does. I'm going to place my blank down on a piece of butcher's paper because I did have some sublimation on the overhang there. And I'm going to cover it with my second piece of butcher's paper. And I would normally press this while we were overhead so you all could see. However, you have to make sure that you stay super still and that there is even pressure all the way across this. So I'm going to bring it toward me so that I can make sure I get even pressure and an even heat source all the way across this, okay? So pressing at 385 for 60 seconds. Oh my, that was not fun. Okay, let's see our results. So, results-wise, it worked. Color-wise, not the best, but that has everything to do with the printer settings that I used because I did print this off in a hurry. So if you are using the Epson SureColor F170 series, make sure you go to the color matching section, especially if you're working with photos, and change it from the Epson color control to the color sync. The color sync is going to give you more of what you see on your screen, which is here, like this picture. This is what it's supposed to look like, versus the Epson color controls, which gives you a deeper, more rich color. And for this, to me, looks burnt. There are going to be some instances where the Epson color sync works amazing, but for pictures, make sure you always color match. Next thing I want to test is this cork. Now, not 100% sure if it's going to work. We're going to test it. It does have an adhesive back on it, so I'm not really sure how that's going to stand up with the heat, but we are here to test and we're here to try. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to add my sublimation design down here in the corner. Because it does have an adhesive back and I don't want it to get on my mat, I'm going to place this butcher's paper under it and then grab a small piece to cover it here. And I'm just going to place the heat on this corner for, let's start with 20 seconds. It did very well. The adhesive is still intact. Let's make sure. I would let that cool before I try to take that off, but it didn't run like I thought it would, and it gave a pretty good result. Now, I mean, that is 20 seconds. You could probably go a little longer and maybe get a deeper color, but y'all, I'm not mad about that. I think it would be really cute if you were doing like a cork board behind like a desk that you have at home and you just wanted to adhere this to the wall as like a small little cork board. I think it is super, super cute. So this one in my book is a win. Next up, I want to try this folder because I think it'd be super cute to add like the grade that your child or grandchild or whoever is in, so you can keep the things that they made during that grade in this folder and separate it out and make sure it stays really neat and organized. So I want to try this folder from Dollar Tree and see if this will sublimate just straight to the folder. So once again, I have my design. I've typed out second grade in this really cute varsity font. I'm going to cover that, cover it in butcher's paper. Just going to go with the heat on this corner. And for this one, I think I want to go 30 seconds. One thing I do want to note, I can already see that it's curling, so I'm going to pop that time down to 20. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it off. So it's curled and it's curling. And I mean, it's on there, but it's not great. I don't think I'm going to call that a win just because of how it curled and how it warped. Maybe you like it, and if you do, I mean, you can see it's on there. It's not very bright. We're going to call that one a 50-50. The next Dollar Tree item that we're going to try is this pillow. It does say that it is 100% polyester. However, this pillowcase is not removable. So that's why I wanted to test it out to see what kind of results we got with this pillow, because we are going to have to press it with the filling inside. So that kind of makes me nervous that we're not going to get even pressure all the way across because it's not going to lay flat. So let's test it out. So I'm going to position this the best that I can. I'm not going to tape it down because I think taping it down is not really going to do it any good for this. So I'm going to cover it with the butcher's paper, and we're going to come in with our heat press it down, and we are doing this one for 60 seconds. Well, I can already see ghosting. Through this, I can see the ghosting, and you can see that I felt like I stayed still enough, but I didn't. It sublimated on there very well. And I guess once you move this around, it's not as noticeable. And so I'm going to say, yes, you can sublimate on it. Is it the easiest to sublimate on it? Absolutely not. Just because you cannot take the pillowcase off of it, if you had it like laying on the floor and you were able to hold the pressure still, once again, I'm working on my tiptoes up here, so that's very easily why I probably got ghosting. But as you can see, yes, it does sublimate on it. You just have to be very careful with the ghosting on these pillows. One thing that I would suggest with a pillow like this that you can't take the cover off of, if you can get it underneath a swing away press, that's probably going to be your best bet, because a clamshell is going to sit at an angle. So I would be afraid that it wouldn't give the best, most even pressure in a clamshell, whereas a swing away, the plate is flat. So you can lay it down, pull the plate in, and then press it all down at the same time. Next up, I want to test this metal sign. Now this is one where I am going to have to add a laminate sheet, but I want to see how well it does with the laminate sheet. I do also know that this is going to get super hot, so I'm going to go grab my heat resistant gloves to use those while working with this blank. Now before I add the laminate sheet, I do want to take this off of there because this is going to melt if I don't. So I want to take that off before I add the laminate sheet. Then I'm going to add my heat resistant gloves to protect myself. Grab our laminating sheet, and I'm going to use this old piece of butcher's paper on the bottom, and then grab this piece to use on the top. Then I'm just going to press for a few seconds to make sure that laminating sheet adheres to the metal plate. So what I'm doing now is I'm just with my heat resistant glove trying to get some of these bubbles out, which this is galvanized, so once it adheres, it's not going to be as noticeable. You do not want to take your burnishing tool and do this. Just do it with your heat resistant gloves, because we are working with metal. It will melt your burnishing tool. Now that that is done, I'm going to grab my True Control knife, and I'm going to start cutting this away. Once I have done that, I'm just going to trim the edges just a little bit. And then you see we're going to be ready to sublimate on this. So now I'm just going to add that to the bottom. Grab my design, place it down onto the metal. You can tape this down if you would like. We may go ahead and tape this down just because it is a pretty slick surface and I don't want it to move. So I'm just going to tape this design down. Grab my butcher's paper, and I'm going to sub on this for 385 for 60 seconds. And now you see you have a cute little sign that you can place in your home wherever. Once this cools down, I would then take this and place it back in the holes. You are going to need to be aware that there is going to be laminate sheet inside those holes. So you want to make sure you wait until it cools down and then take your True Control knife, because once it's hot, if you push that out, this adhesive can come off of there. So wait till it cools down, take your True Control knife, cut that out, and then place your string back through, and you have a super cute little sign. So this one, although we did have to use a laminating sheet, I'm still going to call it a win. Last but not least, we're going to test out these microfiber washcloths to see if we can sublimate on them. I have a really good feeling that we're going to end on a high note, because I really think these are going to be great to sublimate on. So let's go ahead and test it out. So I'm going to unfold this because I don't want there to be a chance of sublimating all the way through the bottom. We're going to take our little design. I told y'all you're going to see this little moth multiple times. Place it down here in the corner. Take some butcher's paper, cover that up, pressing at 385 for 60 seconds. Now we're just going to pull our design off, and beautiful. So this one is for sure a win in my book, and I'm so glad that we could end up on a win. One other thing that I do want to let you know is Dollar Tree has some great wooden blanks. You can do the same technique that we did with the canvas and the metal sign, adding a laminate sheet to those wooden blanks and sublimating onto that laminate sheet. We did not do that today, but just know that it is a possibility. So what do you think? Leave your comments down below. Tell me what you thought. Tell me if there's something that you would have done different, or maybe an item that you have found at Dollar Tree that you have been able to sublimate on and get beautiful results. If you have enjoyed this sublimation video, make sure to check out this video for all the sublimation hacks.
Hey everyone, Tanner Bell here. Welcome back to the Makers Gonna Learn YouTube channel. In today's video, I am so excited for this one because guess what? We are testing and sublimating and telling you our wins, our fails, all from blanks at Five Below. This is super exciting because you all absolutely loved my last video where I taught you all about sublimating things from Dollar Tree. Well, guess what? We're doing the same edition with 10 different items from Five Below. I think you'll find these really handy, and I think you'll really enjoy some of the legwork that we've done for these blanks. So if you're excited, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel for more DIY videos to learn about sublimation. And if you guys did not know, I have a sublimation class, a whole course of almost 20 videos, over 200 files, all exclusive to course members. I'll link it right down below. Definitely check that out if you're interested in sublimation. You will absolutely adore the course. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Now jumping into this, I want to be clear. Some of these work great, some of these not so much. You're going to see the wins and the ones we would not recommend all in this video because we did the hard work for you to save your time and your money so you don't have to. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So let's kick off with the first one. So these right here are some little house slippers. Now, as you can see here, there's two. So at first we had tested here and the quality and the look just wasn't there. We were using the Cricut Mini Easy Press. So we went from the second heat setting to the third heat setting, and wow, what a world of a difference. So my recommendation, if you want to create your very own little house slippers, use 400 degrees worth of heat, which would be the third line on your Mini Easy Press, or just set your heat press to 400 degrees. Now, the slippers are a unique item to sublimate. I don't know if I would put these in a heat press. I really like using that Mini Easy Press for this one, and that's how we got this great result right here. So that's really fun, and these are actually really great quality. Like, they feel really good too. They're really cushiony. So number two, if you guys attended our summer boot camp, you all already know you can sublimate on socks. And the Five Below socks are no different. You'll be able to sublimate really well on your socks from Five Below. So this is really fun. We've sublimated on Dollar Tree socks, Walmart socks, and now Five Below socks. They're all great. So that's really fun. Next up, if you watched my craft blank haul, I talked about this computer sleeve. This is actually really cool. So we were able to sublimate on it, but I want to reinforce, if you shake it, if you move it, if there's any movement, you're going to get not a great transfer. So make sure to use your heat press for this one, because you can see there's a little shadowing, but I think it was user error on my fault. So be careful, be mindful. This is a really slick material, but overall sublimates really well. So next up we have the yoga towel. Now it feels really interesting. You can also see it's kind of like the same material when you're cleaning your car. But what you can do here is you can actually sublimate on this flawlessly. really easy to be able to sublimate and get a really cool look on your yoga towel. So this one's really unique, really fun. And again, I can't believe you can pick these up at Five Below. Like, is that not insane? I love it. So that one's really cool. This next one is this awesome yellow notebook. All right. So the yellow notebook, I recommend this. And what I just want to encourage you to do is the tear method. So after you print out your sublimation design, I want you to tear the edge so it doesn't have a perfectly flat edge. And then you'll still get a really good sublimation design. It's permanent, it's not going anywhere. It's a little faint, I won't lie to you, but you can see, I think it would still be a really unique way to customize or personalize your notebook. And this one's really fun for only $5, so that's awesome. Next up, you're going to see they have a variety of blankets. So many different blankets that you have the opportunity of using. Kind of the same with some of their shirts. So for this really chunky, really thick blanket, can't believe it's only $5, we did right here and it turned out fantastic. We've been using Five Below blankets for quite some time when we have been sublimating. We've always found that they're really great results and that more texture a lot of times means that they're, even better, so that you can see that the sublimation works and everything like that does really, really well. So next up, this is a 100% polyester shirt. And for 100% polyester, it doesn't feel like 100% polyester, if that makes sense. Like, it has some warm texture to it that polyester usually doesn't feel for me. So I'm really impressed with this. I think you all would love this shirt to be able to sell items, to make for yourself, to make as gifts. People will never know that you made this yourself. They'll think you purchased it at a boutique or something like that, which is really, really neat. This next one, this is one of the little pillows for the plane ride. Courtney is obsessed with some of these. She cannot fly a flight more than like an hour without one. So she has went ahead and put her monogram on this one. So this is hers. It's her new one, and it actually sublimated like really, really good. So I love that. That's really incredible. Now let's talk about something that was an epic fail. This right here is a little hat. This is supposed to be a little hat, little cap, and we were sublimating Lake Life. As you may not be able to tell, or maybe, it's not coming apart. So this is not something, the sublimation look, if we really get in there, I mean, it looks really good. Let's go overhead real fast. Let's just take a look at this. You see, the sublimation actually worked. Now the heat ruined the cap. So we do not recommend sublimating on our cap, okay? Y'all, we do not recommend this. No sublimating on the cap, just let it be the cap. But hey, we tested it so you don't have to. Next up, these are the fashion head wraps. And as you can see here, we sublimated right here, and it turned out really well. The only thing to be mindful of when you actually put it on your head, what will happen to it? And honestly, not much. Like, even when you stretch it out, you have a really good look. So I'm actually pretty impressed with this head wrap. So that one's really fun. And then last but not least, we have one of their pillows. And look at how great this sublimated. It went on so well. So you can find that. I actually love sublimating pillows probably more than heat transfer vinyl, because as you lay on them, as they're thrown around, the quality still stays there. There's nothing peeling up, falling off, cracking, none of that from heat transfer vinyl. So I find that really important when you think about what design you're wanting to use. But my friend, there you have it. There's 10 different items that we have been able to sublimate, and we gave you the full 411 on what you need to know about sublimating on each one of these 10 from Five Below. Leave me a comment. Let me know which one you're ready to sublimate. Give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful. Subscribe for more videos like this. And if you're ready to become a member of Makers Gonna Learn, check it out. First link down below. You can be a member for as low as $19.99 a month. That gives you access to our cut file library of like 7,000 designs, 1,000 fonts, our Cricut training, and so much more. Go grab your membership today and get plugged in into our awesome membership community. Until the next video, I'll see you back here real soon. Bye, guys.